Kool-Aid drinkers. Ho, 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 ho. We are back after a long sabbatical. You know, after the playoffs ended, it really knocked us down, man. We had to take a breather from the action for a little while. It was tough. It was tough. It was tough to get our minds back into football, you know. Slowly, as time whittles away, we start losing that hurt feeling, and all of a sudden we start getting that feeling that there's a new season coming, baby. Oh, yeah, there's changes afloat. New coaches, new players. It's going to be fun. This team is going to be fun. So we're getting excited again. Oh, yeah, we are, baby. So here we are again, coming back. We're not the full crew here today. Big Z couldn't make it, and Bob couldn't make it today, unfortunately. But we have here Ruddog.
Yo.
And me, UJ. So what we're going to do here is talk some Lions, baby.
That's what we do.
So, Ruddog. Hey, let's just start out with simple premise here. Come on. Free agency.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment, first of all, on what you just said about that loss. That loss, like, I think knocked a portion of, like, the fan base back to, like, their factory default settings of just negativity. Like, there's just been an absolute rampant, like the Woodward sports guys. I think they're just trolling at this point, but like Ryan and Armani and Edwards, like those guys keep like they act like we didn't just go 15-2. And all they can see is like one weakness on our roster, and therefore, ergo, Super Bowl not happening. And it's just like and it's like because we didn't get Garrett, we didn't get any of these guys. It's like, dude, like I know we were bad in that game, but like it's one game.
I agree. It is a bit annoying, you know. And then not only that, with free agency, you know, we only made one really splash signing, getting a cornerback, but the Bears signed 3 offensive linemen. So now the Bears suddenly leapfrogged us into a better team than the division, and we have probably dropped to the bottom. Oh boy,
we're dirt.
The panic is unreal.
It's so bad.
I guess we're so conditioned after years and years of losing, and then we don't know how to handle winning. But I don't know what it is. But man, I just can't.
We can't handle being close.
No, but God, I don't know. Let's start with free agency though, Ruddog. Just give me an overall picture of what you think we've done so far, and we'll talk about some of the guys.
Look, I think this feeds that sort of like bad mindset these guys are taking, and because it was a very, like, I would say, shrewd free agency period thus far.
Yeah,
you know, no blockbuster signings. You know, arguably, like our biggest signings were guys that we were on our roster last year. Levi O, re-upping Kirby for an extension, like pay raise.
Yeah.
You know, little things like that. But I'm a fan of like guys like this George Wait, is it George Lopez?
Yeah, it's Roy Lopez. From the Cardinals.
Roy Lopez. Like, I think he's a fine, rock solid type of guy with like a nice little bit of like potency to him, where he's not just a big run stuffer at 318, but he gets after the quarterback a little bit with 18 pressures from nose tackle last year. Just like but also like rock solid locker room guy. Like, I think they said a guy from one of his former teams said they'd be good with 90 of them on their roster.
Oh, for sure, for
sure. But that's what Brad does. And then you got Grant Stuard from the Colts, another just hair on fire linebacker, special teams ace who could maybe break into the defense at some point for something. You know, those I think that's kind of like our biggest signings. We didn't really go. I'm probably missing somebody, but we didn't do a whole lot.
Well, I think a lot of people, including myself, was hoping they make a big splash, a Myles Garrett type guy, you know, Max Crosby type guy opposite Hutch. I was kind of wishing for that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
But now I see what Brad's doing here, and if you look at these contracts, and most of these guys are very team friendly. None of them are break the bank kind of deals. The DJ Reed one, we paid him a lot of money, $48 million. But here we got a younger.
Oh, Reed, biggest signing.
DJ Reed from the Jets, a top-notch cornerback, one of the best in the league. We got him at $48 million, which is apparently a pretty good price from what I'm reading.
Way less than what Carlton got paid going to the
yeah,
Patriots.
And he's a younger version of Carlton, although he's maybe an inch or two shorter. but just a dynamic football player, really good.
Some say head and shoulders better too. I've heard like it varies. I've heard a few different things from similar to a little better to like a little worse, like right in the same range though, arguably better, which honestly for that much less money, heck yeah. And the age.
Yeah.
You know?
So really our secondary didn't skip a beat basically. So that was a good pickup by the Lions. That was done the day
Absolutely.
one. The Roy Lopez thing, Ruddog, that you were talking about. The more I read about this guy, I'm just so intrigued by this guy. He's going to be basically a rotational guy, I think, but I think you'll see a lot of him. He's just dynamic against the run and has a little bit of pass rush in him too. So I think we're going to see some good things from this guy. He's a stud, man. I watched some of his film, and I read a lot of the Cardinals stuff, and a lot of people are very sad that they lost this guy and can't believe they let him go, the Cardinals. So
he's a great hedge against like Broderick Martin not maturing in or finally coming due. Like Broderick Martin's, reaching that point where he's got to start putting up a little bit. I'm not saying he has to have a breakout year or anything, but he has to become a viable rotational piece on this team, or otherwise he's not going to have a place on this team. And this is the kind of guy who you feel pretty confident because of what he's already established that he's going to step in and could probably be a starter. He started 16 games last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like and that's also because Aleem is going to be a little delayed in his return too. So that's good for that. Honestly, that's why the Levi signing's so big, because I think he keeps that potency inside next to Reeder. But yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Nice pick there.
Well,
nice,
we can touch on the
guy.
Levi one if you want right now. Levi, we got him at a steal apparently. Was it about $4 or $5 million a year?
5.5. Probably some incentives built in.
And some incentives in there too. Wow. 1 year deal. And he was really coming on last year, turning into an absolute stud.
Yes.
And now fully healthy Anzarike to this line. I think it's going to be awesome.
I agree. I think he's going to probably not be with us after next year because we're not going to be able to afford him. At least that's my hope. The guy, he has that dynamic athletic ability that we knew coming out as a second-round draft pick, and finally being healthy and packed on all that muscle and putting a whole year together. Another season of off-season of training and getting ready and then staying out. And I think he could be one of the most slept on interior linemen in the league next year. And but he also has that the ability to go outside, the versatility to be on the edge or whatever, because he's so explosive. I just think I'm very excited. I was bummed to watch him go, not just because he's a second round pick, which is part of it. I don't like to see us, burn those, but him and Pascal, I still like to see that them coming into maturity and truly become the guys I think they can be, and I know Brad believes they can be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought we'd lose Anzarike, to be honest with you, and the fact that we did get him back, wow. Yeah, I was jacked about that. That was really good.
Okay.
Another guy I'd like to talk about that we picked up, Grant Stuard from the Colts. This guy is he's not a starter, okay, but he's a special teams ace, a backup linebacker, just to add to our depth. And before I talk about him, really, I just want to talk about Brad's philosophy here, because I really think because of all the injuries last year, if you look at it, we were 19 guys on IR at the end of the year, and most of them are on defense. Most of our starters,
all of them, as far as I remember.
Yeah, pretty much all. So, but you can see this huge growth of the depth of this team, like the people he's picking up here. We got potential starting guys as our depth players, and we're going to have a lot of our guys from last year who are coming back. Barnes will be back, Rodrigo will be back. We're going to have a lot of guys back and Hutch, of course.
Yeah.
And
notice the end of the germ era.
Yeah.
Babin is gone.
It's too bad. But this guy Stuard, I've been reading the Colts fans, he was like a total fan favorite. This guy's
because he's just a wrecking ball. He's
a man on fire, just a crazy man. And he took the Lions on purpose. Could have got a better deal somewhere else, but he saw what we were about and wanted to be part of this team. He got $1.7 million fully guaranteed, which is slightly unusual, but it's only $1.7 million in the grand scheme of things, right?
But also shows their confidence, I think, that he's going to come in and stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, I think this guy's going to be – I think he's going to be a fan favorite for us too, like he was in Indy. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
A little like Rodrigo insurance, right? Like, because, I mean, he's got – I think he's at that point in his career too. He's got some – he'll – I wouldn't be surprised if they develop some packages for him on defense, like maybe a blitz package or – a certain type of coverage package or something, because he's not he's a linebacker, not just a special teams guy. And he's not a rookie anymore, so I think he's kind of like what we did with Germ. Like you're gonna probably get him in there just a little bit sometimes.
Well, from what I've been reading and seeing some of his film, he's really good against the run. He's a small guy though. He's like 5'11", 230, something like that.
He's like 6'1".
He's not the biggest guy.
Though, no.
I have to look that up again, but that's what I read in one article that I read. But him and Anzalone can do Head and Shoulders commercials now or something. I don't know, because he's got that big hair. It's crazy hair too. Like, I don't know. It'll be fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, those guys aren't necessarily the most exciting type of signings because they're not filling a starting need on defense. Oh, you're right. 5'11", 229. But like, they're just like great culture guys, and on defense or on special teams, they're studs. Like they fill that perfect role, and then with a little bit of assurance at linebacker. And he's just got that animal in him, so that fits perfect here.
And we know the emphasis Campbell puts on special teams. So he's going to be a key player, I think, here in this team. They re-signed Marcus Davenport, which I think a lot of people will be, what the hell they did. But they did get him on the cheap.
It gets many people mad.
Well, I mean, his injury history is quite bad. He's hurt most of the time.
But, like, that's the thing. Everyone doesn't understand. Like, the people who are, like, these people freaking out, it's purely emotional. Like, they can't, like, they can even say facts and then have an emotional reaction despite saying, like, they can say, like, exactly what's happening and then just run with it in the most negative direction, because what you have is a top 5 roster in the NFL, and Brad is building it like a maestro. He's being shrewd. He's being, meticulous. He's not jumping at, a red shiny truck, whatever. Like, he's not, he's not out here all distracted by these big shiny names. Is he making plays for them if they're available? Yeah, but, like, they're not even available. Garrett was not even available. He went for the money and sold out. It was all a sham. Like, it's like, it just drives me crazy because we're literally talking about, like, 1 to 2 positions on this team that really need, like, a true starter. And actually, arguably, you could say, like, maybe we don't even need that. Like, I think Pascal is a viable starting end on this team across from Hutch to start. And then you got him backed up by Davenport if he stays healthy. You don't have to use him all the time. They're not, like, maybe that's not the most exciting pass rush on the opposite of Hutch, but it's not impotent either. Like, and then they're gonna use Barnes in the pass rush. They're gonna use the linebackers in the pass rush. They have weapons. I do want them to add to it. I'm not like, I don't disagree there. We need to add another DN, I believe, into this, because you can't count anything against Davenport. Anything we get from him is a gravy, cherry on top, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't mind them taking another flyer on the guy, but you don't go into the season thinking he's going to be your starter. But Pascal, on the other hand, I get why people aren't excited about him. Like, I get it. Well, he hasn't really showed out yet, but I still think he's only his first year fully healthy, right? Like last year, like this year, I think
you and me are going to differ slightly on this.
Go for it.
Like, no, I agree. Pascal's a solid player, but I don't think he's the upside that you're looking at. I think you have a lot higher hopes for what his upside is.
I'm just going off his athletic traits.
Yeah, he's got the trait, and I do think he's a very good player, and he's a very solid. But he, as being that plus guy, that pass rusher, that I don't think he's that guy.
Well,
Davenport, however, healthy Davenport, I must qualify this, is a freaking monster out there.
Yeah, he's like got 6 inches or 3 inches on.
I'm just not talking about size. I mean, look at this film when he's healthy. He's a monster. He's an absolute game wrecker, and if the Lions can just capture one healthy season with this guy, but like I said, it's a shot in the dark a little bit because his injury history is very bad. But I think.
Look,
I don't know. That's my feeling on Davenport. Anyway.
No, I mean I don't disagree with you. He's a stud. If he's obviously a prototype for the position, if he can stay healthy, like he's got all the tools you want in a DN, a bookend DN across from Hutch. You just can't count on it in any way, and that's where. But I think Pascal's not that far off. Like he's a beast in his own right, and I think if he with another year actually fully under his belt, he stayed healthy, got through a whole season this year. Like I still think he's gonna be a damn good player, but obviously he's got to prove a little bit more in that regard. But I also think that's a big reason why you don't see Brad and Dan getting all anxious out here, jumping at big names, overpaying. We're not going to overpay. We're not the bitch anymore.
Yeah.
We're the alphas. We don't jump at like shiny card. We don't get distracted by nonsense anymore. We're making the smart moves. Look at, and the shoe's on the other foot now. The Patriots overpaid for Carlton Davis, and I think he's a very good player, but we didn't overpay him.
Yeah.
We got a guy arguably better for less, and that's what Brad will do. Guys want to come here now. We're a good team turning great. Like it's easy to forget because of that atrocious divisional round game against the Commanders, but it's like it's stuck in people's minds. This team is very good, and I can't wait to see what this draft adds to it because I think a lot of these concerns will be addressed there. But I also think we're not going to sit still there. But go on.
Speaking of that for 1 second, you and I had an earlier conversation about a week ago, and you said something that stuck with me that we don't have to draft and get 5 starters in the draft. If we get 1 or 2 starters in the draft, and then with all the depth we have and the starters we do have, so this actually, in a way, it frees Brad up a little bit come draft time to what you suggested, trade up. Maybe we'll trade up and get a super stud. Maybe we'll get that DN in the draft, and he'll be on a rookie contract for the next 4 years. And maybe we'll get that one other guy, maybe a guard or get a tackle or maybe a safety. We only need 2 or 3 really good picks. We don't need 6 or 7 because our team is so deep right now. And we have a lot of depth, which Brad has really addressed in his free agency, I think, here. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it does open up possibilities for the draft. I love the idea, what you were talking about, trading up. That intrigues the hell out of me right now.
I just think, like I said, like you said, like Brad, we don't need all these picks. I think he's going to bundle a little bit. Like, I do agree that I want a big player added to this roster. Like, I would have been psyched about getting Garrett or whatever, but, like, that's only going to happen if it's viable and not going to cripple us because Brad's not just building for now. And that's what's, like, so crazy. So many people are ready to just be like, light a match under it if it means getting to the Super Bowl. Like, I literally, guy just, Maz shouted, I just don't care. I don't care. Just pay him whatever. Just pay. Like, I don't care. And that's it. You don't care. You just want this, like, ideal outcome where we get Myles Garrett and we can burn all our resources otherwise because that's gonna do it. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. And I'm glad those people aren't running the Lions because Brad Holmes is, and he's a stud. And like, look, they say yes, it's time we can question his moves, we can be critical, but they're not being critical. They see the facts and they're being negative. And they just can't help it. I think it's institutionalized like negativity that just hasn't quite got out of the bones of some people. And I get it.
And tell you one thing you touched on here, how players want to come here. And here's some examples here. Tim Patrick, we re-signed him. He was on social media wearing a shirt that says the only team I want to go to is the Lions. Nice. He was going all out trying to pitch his way back in, and he did. And he did a great job for us. The Irishman kicked ass last year, and I think he'll be even better this year. He's that 6'4" tall receiver that we need, and he made some key plays last year.
He did.
I'm glad we have him back. That was a good signing. Other guys we got back. Craig Reynolds, super solid backup. He's that guy.
Love Craig.
When you're building a team, guys like that don't get enough credit, and when he does come in, he's dynamic and he's there. He's a great depth piece. Fantastic player to have on the team. Yeah. Pat O'Connor, the St. Rita boy, is back. I'm excited about him.
I know that makes
back.
you happy, which I'm happy too. Not because he went to St. Rita, but
give
I
the
like
guy credit though. He stepped up last year.
I won't hold him going to St. Rita against him. I like him.
Well, he stepped up last year when injuries were mounting and did a pretty good job. Great depth piece there. Al-Qadin Mohammed, your guy. Come on. Is he your guy, Ruddog?
Is he back?
He's back. He's back on a 1-year deal.
Oh, good. Because I saw Ezekiel Turner, and I think I got those two mixed up. But those are both
No,
back.
Muhammad is back for 1 year. That guy flashed.
No, I like him. He's got some
year.
nice length to him. He's got some speed. I like him.
Another fan favorite is back, Dan Skipper.
Hell yeah.
Skip. You gotta love Skip, man. Skip.
That guy's got to retire a Lion at this point. I don't care. Like, how could you go anywhere else?
What a great NFL success story the Skipper is. I mean, here's a guy, he was either undrafted or late draft pick, I forget, bounced around on teams, didn't know if he was going to ever be able to make it in football, but he got a chance at the Lions, and boy, they found something in him, man.
Man.
And they got it out of him. The Skipper's he's awesome.
I could even imagine maybe a brief window of like a year. I don't know how old he is now, though, actually, but like where if like Decker finally hung it up, because I mean he wasn't bad last year, but he was showing some signs of I don't want to say decline, wear and tear maybe, but
maybe
at times, whatever. Like, well, he's still good. I love Deck, but like maybe when Deck went down though, Skip like stepped up at left tackle.
He did. He did.
Like, he showed he could be a viable tackle. Like, I can see a year where he gets is our starter for a year maybe.
Oh, for sure.
He's got the traits.
Very good in our jumbo packages. I mean, he's always out there. He's a fan favorite. Caught a touchdown pass last year. Who'll ever forget that? I mean,
that was great.
Just amazing. The guy's just he's a grinder, man. He's a grinder. Total Campbell guy. I love it. Hey, Skip, I don't know what are you puking over there? What are you doing? I don't know. But just
good job.
Yeah, good job.
Keep it up.
Another interesting signing was Kyle Allen, backup quarterback. That was an interesting one. People are going, "Oh, is Hooker's job on the left?" Yeah, he's, come on.
Yeah,
this is. Well, it should be. I mean, he should always be competing, but
yeah, of course.
I don't think Kyle Allen's a threat necessarily.
He's definitely a threat.
But going into camp, you want to have some depth at the position.
I just don't know where he's at. That's the biggest thing. Like he's far from being locked in like Hooker. I don't think he's. I mean, they didn't even let him get the backup reps for Goff in the playoffs for a guy who'd been on the team for a week. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's a sign that he's about anything about the future about him, but more about maybe where he's at, and he's still got some left to prove. And in that manner, I think, he's at risk. Of course, he's at risk.
Hooker had a steeper hill to climb coming into the NFL with the type of offense he played at Tennessee. It was one of those, wide open college offenses that doesn't translate to the pros real well. So he had to learn a pro offense.
Yeah, and he still might not have it for all we know. We've seen nothing of him, so it's really hard to say.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just like the jury's just so out on him. It's not even like I can't even make a judgment because the jury hasn't even come close.
I would personally let him play the whole preseason and just let him play every freaking down and see what he can do. Get some experience.
This has definitely got to be the year he shows something in the preseason or otherwise. Because I mean, I thought last year we basically did roll with him as the backup all season, so I mean that was some vote of confidence, but until the playoffs,
I'm not really down on the guy. I mean, we haven't really seen down. He's super athletic, great arm. Just reps maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, but, it's neutral. I can't tell one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. So. Anyway, they picked up Kyle Allen to add to their core. It'll give them 4 quarterbacks.
We did have a couple losses. That just hit my brain.
Who's that?
Sad. Well, Zeitler.
Oh wait, hold on a second. We'll get to that. I'll get to that right now. We'll do that right this minute.
Do it.
That's what it's called in the business, a segue. So here we go. Free agent losses by the Lions this year. Okay, let's tell me how they hurt or don't hurt. Wide receiver Maurice Alexander. He signed with the Bears.
Oh gosh, watch it be like the number one weapon for Caleb Williams already.
I mean,
if anyone's gonna know what he does, it's Ben. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, that's the thing. When a coach goes to another team, he sometimes picks players that he knows can work with. So
he's a shifty little kid. I mean, like he's got some, I can see him being like a nice little slot guy for them doing shifty work inside and stuff. He's got a little speed to him. I liked him. I always liked him. Decent return skills, but we just have more talent than him, so I'm not really sad about it.
Exactly. He just never had a chance to see the field because our guys are too good.
I'd rather keep what's this Kennedy over him anyway.
Yeah, tight end James Mitchell never quite caught on.
Maybe
with the team.
Biggest bust of Brad's drafts.
Arguably Brad's worst draft pick ever.
He just never did much.
He came out of college with I believe a knee injury, and very athletic player in college, dynamic guy, but just never happened here in Detroit for him. So Good luck to you with the Panthers. I hope you do well, James.
Hey, you got signed. That's nice.
Yeah. So the other one you were referring to, Kevin Zeitler. Now this one kind of hurts me a little because he was a stud last year. God, that guy was good. He's what, 50 years old. I don't know what he is. But that guy is a monster. He's a great player.
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
I would have loved to see us get him another year. But he signed a $9 million 1-year contract with the Titans. So, good for him. I mean, when you're late in your career and you're getting 1-year deals for $9 million, that's pretty damn good.
That's pretty good. I mean, he was a stud for us. He's one of those, I'd say he's a plus guy, when we had him along with Sewell and Ragnow and Decker, Graham was our weakest link until the end of the season. He was still damn good. No, that one kind of hurt. Granted, numbed that pain by what we saw from Mahogany. And, as far, definitely a place I wouldn't mind seeing throw. We should definitely throw a draft pick O-line way, just probably every year, regardless.
I agree.
But we're not exactly barren in that cupboard when you really consider the resources we have been pumping into that O-line over the last few years. Manu, what is he? He could be our left tackle of the future.
Yeah.
You still got Colby, who, hasn't done a whole lot to impress yet, but he's been developing for a few years now. Yeah, you got Coyote's been showing great promise when he gets his chances. And then Mahogany. We got guys in competition. We got bodies, and not just nobodies, but guys who have shown some promise and have potential.
Right.
And I like the idea more of Graham losing that spot to be our a versatile backup next year. Anyway,
I see Mahogany stepping right into one of the slots. Glasgow, the jury's still out on him. Apparently, he had a little bit of a down year last year compared to previous. Let's face it, though, when we signed Glasgow, he was meant to be a backup center and guard, and he wound up being our starter, and did a really
the year before
good job. So.
Really
hats off to Glasgow. I love the guy, man. I hope he stays with. Well, he is
Me
with
too.
the team.
I love him as our backup. He's a perfect rotational backup piece. Because especially with his age, it's he's no spring chicken no more.
Yeah.
And he showed some serious lapses down the stretch last. That fumble was basically on him against the Commanders. And he had a few plays like that where he just got toasted. And these D tackles and guys rushing inside nowadays are just getting freakier.
Yeah, but bottom line is I think we need an infusion of youth in this line a little bit. Is finding the right guys. I think Mahogany will be one of those guys. That kid looks very impressive.
Pretty confident about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about him as a starter. I'd like to see him start. He reminds me of Jonah Jackson at his top of his game, but I think he has a higher ceiling than Jonah actually.
Might.
But we'll see. Remains to be seen, as they say. Back to the free agency losses. Defensive line, Jonah Williams signed with the Saints. I don't think we'll.
Jonah! No! He was on the team last year, I'm assuming.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Okay, cornerback Carlton Davis. Now this one, hey.
Yeah, I was bummed, honestly. I like Carlton a lot.
I love the guy, and he was a dog, man. He was a baller. Went out there and he gave it all, and he played really well for us. Was a stud.
Yeah. That play when Dan Campbell's we're gonna get a takeaway. He goes right ahead and gets that pick against the Texans.
It was on cue, man. That was unbelievable.
And I feel we've wallowed in bad cornerback play for so long, and he was such a breath of fresh air in that regard. He was a stud.
He was.
I liked him a lot. I'm bummed he's gone, but that's just the life of the league. And we replaced them adequately.
Yeah, I agree. But we did. Kindle Vildor. Now here's hot and cold, a lot of people, but I want to give the guy some props, man. That guy, he had the ball bounce off his head or whatever against the 49ers. It might have cost us the game, but it was great defense and just the freakiest bounce. Right. But overall, the guy was a solid backup, and I think he did a nice job for us,
I agree, UJ. But I also think he is the exact kind of person you turn over to get new blood in a roster generally. Like, I don't think he ever was going to threaten to start. I think he could play some quality backup reps, but when people talk about stagnance in the league and stuff, when you try to return your whole roster, right? Like we got all our starters, we got all these guys. Like, he's the perfect kind of person to kind of churn out, get space for new blood on the roster, because like he already has like some taboo about that game around him for some fans, like you said. Like, I didn't hate him or anything. He showed some fine play at times, but like, I'm perfectly fine trying out somebody else in that regard.
Well, I'm a big fan of new blood. Remember the year we went to the playoffs under who was the coach? My favorite coach.
Yes. It was Schwartz.
No.
Oh no, it was Caldwell.
Jim Caldwell.
Where we returned like 21 of 22
we
starters.
Said, this team is ready to go. We're going to keep this whole team intact. We didn't really make many changes. They wanted to just suck in the next year.
Sucking.
Anyway, every year, I don't care how good your team is. You need some turnover. You need fresh blood in there every year.
Yepers.
And this year, we're keeping a lot of the guys that, but what we do have some good fresh blood coming in, some quality fresh blood, and including on our coaching staff. So I'm not worried about that.
That's why I'm saying, like, I think fresh blood's important, but I also think there is also, it's the nuance of it all, but there's value in continuity. But I also think that kind of continuity is more important when you're talking about guys you've drafted and developed as your core guys. Because, like, you look at those teams, a lot of those teams were, like, assembled as, like, free agency hodgepodges of, like, some good signings and trades and whatnot. And, like, we never had a great drafted team under any guys before, really.
That's a good point.
Like that's the other thing about free agency that drives me nuts when these people are freaking out. Free agency does only sometimes, rarely, really do anything to actually put people over the edge. There's a reason guys are free agents in the first place. Like, granted, you could point to it last year because Barkley went to the Eagles, but that's because the Giants are dumbasses. Like, I mean, like, rarely does a guy of that caliber come along and become available and is going to really make that difference. Like, if you're not fundamental and foundationally built on like the right kind of weight, free agents ain't gonna do shit for you. And like, and when you're breaking the bank and overspending on them, that's a great way to, like, because people always go, the cap is not real, the cap is not real. No, it's real. Sure, it's weird and malleable and it's hard to really understand, but you know what? We know what cap hell is because we've been there, where we can't sign anybody we want because we were mismanaged.
Yep.
Like, Brad Holmes is never going to be in that position because he's not an idiot, and he's smart and he's shrewd and he knows how to manage it all and not just screw us because he gets too excited.
Yeah.
Also, guys,
we didn't win the Super Bowl this year, and maybe we were the favorites to do it. We didn't do it. But you know what? Just to have a competitive team every year. We used to go into every season for decades, okay? Like, just hoping we'd win half our games, maybe, if we're lucky, like
we were 15.
And every once in a while you get a freak season where you might make the playoffs, which is very seldom. And it was all on hope, though, you got lucky.
Foolish, like, just like blind optimism, like, and it was always like, if this guy does this, like, he like hits his potential this year, and this guy like hits his, like, if all these guys like do like this ideal version of themselves where they don't make mistakes ever, like, we'll be great.
Right. But now we have a competitive team, and I do believe in this next year or two we are going to win the Super Bowl. I just, in my blood, I believe it. I think this team is loaded, but I just like going into the year knowing we have a competitive football team that's going to win that's going to win more than it loses. and will most likely be in the playoffs probably every year for the next few years. It's going to be so much fun to watch. And then here's where I think it comes down to Campbell a little bit. Like, I think Campbell's still on a learning curve right now. Like last year, I almost think the goal of having the number 1 seed superseded other goals. And like, and there's something. I think he's learned a little bit about peaking. Like, it's great to win. You don't have to win 15 games. You don't have to win 16 games. You have to get in the playoffs, and you have to peak at the right time. You have to be playing your best football late in the season. Like, and the Eagles are a good example of that this year, because the Eagles just, boy, were they playing their best football. They hit their stride. I mean, perfect time.
I think part of that, though, UJ, is when you're being held together by duct tape, you got to pull out all the stops just to stay in the fight.
Right.
You know, like, our defense was like cardboard and duct tape, like, put out on the field to see if it could try to stop a stiff wind.
Well, let me ask.
And it overachieved, but I think Dan really tapped into a lot to pull that off. Like, it took a lot of effort, and like, I think it, like you said, I don't think we were peaking at the right time, in part because we were trying to stay. Like, I don't think that, like, I think you want the 1 seed to take that, like, to say that's not an obvious and as important goal is, I think, silly. Obviously, making the tournament is the number 1 goal. That's the most. Once you're in, all bets are off, and whatever happens. But like, you still want to strive for that 1 seed. I don't know what I'd be curious to know what Dan's lessons are after all that.
Well,
because the way we lost in that game was not like a clear-cut reason why.
No,
like,
hey,
you couldn't even say our defense really was the reason why necessarily.
That's an anomaly. I mean, our defense was so riddled with injuries. We were playing practice squad guys in that game.
And they were arguably not the reason we lost.
And our offense had to be A1 perfect in that game to win that game. And
we're just not atrocious.
We weren't A1 perfect. We were just there. But I had a point. Now you made me forget because you were rambling on one of your soliloquies.
Tell me,
damn it. So do you think sometimes we maybe, at the cost of maybe potential injuries, tried to win too many games in the regular season, like played guys too long, or
no.
I'm just throwing it out there.
No.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think the 1 seed is an improper target. Like, you don't settle in because we got the playoffs locked. No, you go for the 1 seed because you get home field advantage through the playoffs.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
I want to say another thing, though. We didn't lose a game on the road last year.
No.
All our losses were at home.
3 at home.
Yeah. So where's the home field advantage?
I have to go now.
Who's the home field advantage then?
Black uniforms were 2 of our 3 losses, I believe.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up.
That was bad.
Get rid of the black unis,
playoffs
please.
Too. I don't like that. We should have worn our home uniforms in the playoffs.
You can bring up alternate uniforms if you want, but not those, please. Get rid of them.
But they're a one and done maybe during the regular season. They're not your playoff uni. Like, that's gross.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
The blues.
I like the blues. I like the whites. We never, they got so hung up on the solid color combos, whites and blues. Like, they never really did the gray pants and the white jersey.
That was our other loss to Tampa, was the silver pants and blue uniforms. I just noticed the highlights.
Yeah, it was right.
And it's like maybe there's some. I wonder if there's superstition in there. If there is, they need to chill out.
Well, there is. Silly. There is.
No,
of course there is. Of course there is.
You think they made that decision based on superstition that they didn't use them again?
Yes.
Well, it didn't stop them from using the blacks again.
Because they kept winning in the solid blues and the solid whites. The blacks,
we lost. We beat the Seahawks in outstanding fashion with them. And then we lost to the Bills, and then we lost to the Redskins.
Yeah, get rid of the damn blacks, man.
I'm with you now. Like,
get rid of them things. I'm telling you.
I do miss the blue and silver. I like the blue top, silver bottoms better than most, I guess, because
I do too.
I love our solids, like white and blue, but I like our.
It's like Matt Millen's ghost floating into the stadium and caused us to lose those games in the blacks. I don't know why people go to the black thing. I just don't get it, man. Maybe it's because I'm old and crotchety, but I don't care. But no, get rid of the blacks.
No, I'm with you at this point. I don't care about as a one-off like alternative uniform during the season, but this idea that it's becoming part of our repertoire that's like regular, no, get rid of it like that.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad we agree on that.
But like, I do think there is something in terms of energy conservation that Dan will have learned from this. Like, I think you look at the Chiefs this year, for instance. Everyone shat on them all season because of like how their wins looked and all this stuff. But I think a large part of what it was they did was they played in like energy saver mode and still had a great record. Like, I don't think they were overstressing any of these games because it's just the regular season. They know all you really got to do is get into the tournament, and then all bets are off. And look, they made it there and got trounced. Right. But like, the results of the playoffs are always a tricky thing to look at because it's a small like I don't know, biome. It's a whole separate world. It's not. Right. You can't compare it to the regular season. It has the regular season has no implications on it really.
Nope.
Like, I mean, it can help you kind of guess who the better teams are, but like once you're in, the 9-7 team or 8-9 team just has as much chance of going all the way as the 1 seed, and you've seen it happen.
Right.
And that's why it's. So it's, like, I do agree there's some lessons there. I do maybe think the injuries might have dragged out, like, because, you can only tap the emotional well so much. Like, you can't always be emotional. And if you're tapping emotions, I think, too, as a good team, you're probably playing a little bit, like, chaotic, or, like, you're tapping into powers that you're going beyond. Because, like, ideally, you're chasing more of like a stoic like perfectionism during the regular season where you're showing up to these games and you're executing, right? Like but like, sure, like you get the speeches before the games or whatever, but like that's just standard fare. But like overly emotionalizing as like the head coach and in the narrative and everything, I think it has a cost, like because you get dips in emotions just as much as you get spikes, like. And those spikes can be potent, but if you use them too often, those dips will come too.
I think there's a really, really, really good point you just brought up. And it really came to fruition that Vikings game. That there was so much put on that Vikings game. There was so much put on that to get that 1 seed, right? I mean, and man, they poured it out. It was poured out of the field there. And it was a brilliant. But even with the 2-week break, I don't think they were ever able to recapture that, get back to where they had to be again. There's sort of emotional letdown, inevitable almost. I mean, that on top of our defense being shredded with injuries, and it was too much to overcome, I think.
Honestly, I think you're right 100% in that regard. But I also think if you could put it down to one thing, I think really changed, like like you take away Graham Glasgow or make him like play like he did 2 years ago, and I think we win that game. I think it all started with that. Well, that and Ben Johnson's arguably atrocious empty backfield lineup but like that was built on Graham Glasgow. He was the brick in the foundation that failed in that moment. Like you got, but like you said, you like Ben got kind of cocky with that, but like. Shouldn't he be able to trust his players to execute it? And like Amon-Ra also slipped on the play, which slowed Goff down on his release. Like I don't know. That's like things like that are like the nature of it. There's so many little factors, that it was. And when that happens, it's just like it was one day, right? Like, and that's the nature of the playoffs. The bullet's in flight. It's a duel. Like, and once you can't turn it back now. You got to just keep going forward. And sometimes you can't claw back in time before it makes contact with your brain pan and you're done.
But some of that is on the head coach and
it's on everybody. That's the thing.
Well, no, you're right. It's on everybody, and everyone takes ownership. Especially. Everyone's gonna own it, but like recognizing that, in the long term, like guys like Andy Reid, they've been through, and Mahomes, they've been through this gauntlet a million times. And like you said, they're just going about their business. Like they're like lunch pail. They go to work.
Yeah.
They win the game. Maybe not by much, or maybe they eke it out, whatever. They go back home, put their lunch bucket away again, then make a sandwich for the next day. They're just, it's like going to work. And like the emotional highs and lows we went through. I think
you don't ride them.
I think there is a certain level where you become more business-like and more like that's why I think that the great teams like they achieve a certain level where that's just expected to be a certain way, and you don't have to get super emotional. You don't need to
think about it this way:
incredible emotions to get the win. You can just do it because
UJ. Do you wake up in the morning and like just cheer that your eyes opened and you're breathing? Because
I think my like when I wake up, it's going like, oh yeah,
but like
shit.
But you get my point is
like my knees start creaking when I get and then and I
but you get what I'm saying, like you don't cheer for what you expect to happen necessarily, like like good.
I try to make it to the bathroom in time.
We get it, you're old, okay. Yeah. Like just don't cheer for what you expect to happen, and you watch. And a great way to highlight your whole point on this is it kind of almost was eerily similar. The week before, the Vikings beat the Packers, and they celebrated like they won the Super Bowl, and then they came in and we bitch slapped them. And then we celebrated like we won the Super Bowl, and then we got bitch slapped.
You're right.
Like I think that celebration was like kind of like like it felt a little too potent. Like it shouldn't have been that celebratory.
This is part of the learning curve, though. Like for a championship destined team, this is part of the learning curve. Yeah, it sucks for the fans who are expecting it to happen now, but I don't think this slows down our march to the Super Bowl. I mean, I truly believe this team is destined for greatness, and but we just it's a growing up process, right? It's all a growing up process, and like you said, controlling the emotions, keeping it level, and it's part of it. And
and I really do think part of that's like you have Amik Robertson playing out of his mind to cover Justin Jefferson, and that defense outplaying any expectation that could have been reasonably put on them.
Yeah,
as depleted as they were, and they tapped emotionally. Like they were way too excited. They bought it. I don't know. The energy was spent. You're right. I do agree in that regard. Which is what like as far as like the Commanders game, it's just some days it just don't go your way, and I really do think that was the vast majority of it.
Yeah,
like a one good play here, and all of a sudden the momentum's completely shift. A guy shoots past Graham and causes a fumble in the red zone.
Yeah,
7 or 14 point swing or whatever. Granted, the defense wasn't great that day, but the defense also played in a way where we watched the Lions win multiple times throughout the year, where they got stops at the right times if our offense played the way we know they could, but they just didn't play the right game. They're a great game that day,
right.
and yeah, so like you stir up our defense a little bit. We don't need the greatest defense in the world with our offense, but we need a solid defense, and I think we can be great. I think we were trending towards a top 5 defense last year before it, calamity struck. But
it's going to be interesting this year coming up because assuming we get all our injured players back healthy, Derek Barnes, Hutch, we're going to be a lot better. We're going to be a lot better. And then Kelvin Shepherd coming in is going to be really interesting.
I know.
I can't wait to see what he has to bring to the table. They've been grooming him for this job for the last couple of years, and they've been making a point of making him a huge part of the defense. They were literally grooming him for this job because they knew AG was going to be gone eventually. And I think Kelvin's the guy for the job. I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see him in action calling this defense. And I got a feeling he's got his own wrinkles to add to this thing. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I'm actually very curious to see, like, because I can't imagine he's just gonna 1-for-1 Glenn's defense. Like, I think he's gonna be having some different ideas on where like emphases are. Like, for instance, is he gonna put his guys on the secondary so into man coverage so consistently? Like,
good question.
Like good as question. A linebacker himself, is he gonna show any favoritism to the position, or at least a more knack for because there's actually some very intriguing linebacker prospects coming out this year that I would not be mad if we drafted. Granted, our linebacking core looks nasty for next year right now. But I'm very intrigued to see his spin on this whole thing. But he's definitely got the tools. I mean, you can argue he's one short at the end, which is like, oh God, we can't win the Super Bowl because we don't have Myles Garrett across him. Oh, like,
well, that's where we got to wait and see what happens at the draft, because it's going to be a very interesting draft this year. We're going to get into that in the coming weeks, but it's going to be very intriguing. There's a lot of really good defensive prospects out there, D-line, D-edge guys.
I'm stealing your guy right now as my favorite, UJ.
Who's that?
Landon Jackson.
Yes, this is a guy.
I think he's a perfect bookend for
Keep
Hutch.
your eyes on this guy, Landon Jackson from Arkansas, I believe. This guy's Hutch-like in size, and I've watched some of his film. He's 6'7", I believe, 265, something like that.
Like 6'6", but yeah,
6'6", maybe.
Right around there.
But on tape, this kid, he's not just tall and big. He's got moves too. He can bend. He's a
little awkward because he's very leggy.
He's leggy.
He looks like a monster.
But on film, some of the stuff he does is quite remarkable.
He looks great in a uniform. He just puts O-linemen in the dirt.
But can you imagine like 6'7" and 6'6" on the other side, like Hutch and this guy? Well, and plus he's got one of those high motor guys that just never quits. It would be very interesting.
It's the prototype that Brad likes. Like that's what that's what Davenport is. It's the like 6'6", 260, 270, can shift down inside.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily a speed rush off the edge. It's a power rush. I think they liked the power because, like, if you notice what they were building with Hutch was like Hutch was going to be like sort of the wild, like all over the place pass rush, but it was a very disciplined, like power collapse the pocket kind of thing they were working on, especially because of the mobile quarterbacks. It was a hyper disciplined pass rush designed around like power and a lot less like trying to win with speed. And I'm curious also, that might change too, but I still think that's the case, honestly, because they didn't go after Azeez Ojulari, and he would have been that like stand up, just rush off the edge, speed linebacker type. And we haven't even ever since Houston, we haven't even pretended to like that guy. Our linebackers are like, if you have they want him to be like Barnes. They want him to be a guy who can drop into coverage. And sometimes rush. They don't want just a pure light little pass rusher guy.
Right.
And so, I found it. 6'6", 264, Landon Jackson.
Yeah.
He ran a 4.68.
Oh my God.
That 165 10-yard split, 40.5-inch vertical. I didn't even see that before.
That's crazy.
God, that's so high. He's gonna be able to knock balls out of like the sky.
Oh my God. Anyway, he's a very intriguing prospect, and plus, he might be available to us either late in the first round, possibly second round.
Maybe second. I think we might have to trade up for him. Those metrics alone, though. Do you remember? I mean, what's his name? It moved. What's his name from Georgia all the way to the Jags in the top of the first round with similar metric. Well, granted, he ran like a 4.5, but. Still, when you get that freaky, it's gonna. I see us maybe having to trade up for this guy, but the only thing that might slow him down is the production wasn't like out of this world. They have him ranked as the 13th production score, but the second overall athleticism score.
Interesting.
And the 6th overall. So 6th, I think, is right in our range where maybe we have to trade up a little bit, or he might fall to us. But those traits are so dynamic, that's so much. We might have to move for him.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're going to get into the draft in upcoming pods here. We're going to slowly get back into the groove here, boys. So, looking forward to another.
Can I say something?
Heck yeah.
I don't think the Lions are going to draft him. He never went to Alabama or Iowa.
Ooh.
He only went to Arkansas.
Go to Alabama?
Oh.
Well, the Lions love Alabama and Iowa guys.
I
get your point.
Good point.
We do like them, but we're not like married to them. Actually, the kid from Alabama, the linebacker, looks pretty good. Shamar Campbell, I think, or Jihad Campbell.
Jihad Campbell.
Yeah.
He's a kind of lanky linebacker with speed. I like.
He's an upper first round pick from
good
what
one,
I
Kid
see.
Jay.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one.
But yeah, I mean, anyway, I think there's some guys. There's other guys in this. It's honestly though, to your point at the beginning of this pod, UJ, like the scouting has been a bit tedious this year because one, like the interest just kind of died with that that first round playoff game out, and then like two, we're at the end of the first round, so it's really hard to scout past like the top 5 prospects and get like super excited, you know, like to identify those kinds of guys is hard.
But that being said, we're gonna do it in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. Our upcoming draft analysis. The draft's not historically. It's a little over about 6. It's 5 or 6 weeks till the draft yet, but
yeah, UJ.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
There's historically fast running backs in this draft. We could draft another first round running back.
Oh, cool. Yeah, sure. That'd be a good idea. I think it's probably a good time to.
Are you saying on that note?
Well, yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Kinda.
Are we starting to play like?
Do you got anything to finish up with here, Ruddog? Do you have anything to say to?
I mean, we didn't even talk about our offensive coordinator. Or did do we even have a pod about that? It's been so long.
We did a little bit. It's been a long time.
Johnny Morton.
On the last pod, we actually talked about him, but we'll talk about him some more coming up.
That's fine.
But we've been going here pretty good, and it's our first one back. Miss Bob and Z being here, but Ruddog, you and I think we carried the mantle okay with our producer, Kid J, the best in the biz. The best. Hey, what is it we always say? Kid J. Kid J. Woo! Yeah, the best in the business. Kid J. This kid, right. And he is no slip. This guy, I'm telling you, he's the best. All you other podcasters out there who make a lot of money, more than we do, you might want to hire this guy. But you know, you can't have him. Anyway, all right.
Fight you.
Okay. Kid J, you might have to help me out here. There's so many people who want to thank. You know what? I'm very thankful that we are Lions fans. It's a humbling thing to be a Lions fan. It keeps us grounded. You know, all the years of rooting for, you know, but that being said, it's love, man. It's all about love. We love this team. And I don't know, I love everything about it. I love the uniforms. I love the players. I just love this organization. I don't know what it is about the city, the team. I don't know what it is. Anyway, thank you, and thank the fans for all you people who listen to this podcast. Love you guys, and
love you.
And Kid J, there's probably some other people we need to thank, and I'm gonna turn it over to you right now.
Yeah, I want to thank the Detroit Lions for giving us something to talk about every episode. You can follow us on. I want to thank Minute Maid Media for hosting us, and Sideline Report and Minute Maid Media for hosting our podcast. I want to also thank follow us on social media: Instagram at Drinking the Blue Kool-Aid, on Twitter at Drinking Lions, and YouTube at Drinking the Blue Kool-Aid, or shoot us an email at drinkingthebluekool-aid@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. That's everything we got to plug.
All right, man.
Tell us how great we are.
Hey, we just love talking about the Lions, man. I mean,
that's right.
Let's face it. That's why we do this. It's just for the love of the team. There's no other reason.
I thought it was for the fame and wealth and the treasure.
Well, you know, I thought the fame would come with the love, but I don't know.
I'm pretty sure at least like 200 people know who we are. Okay.
Hey, come on
at
now.
At least.
Anyway, on that note, as they say, we love you guys, and thanks for listening. And last but not least, as always, go